This is Newsmax TV. I'm Ashley Martella. We're pleased to be joined by Virginia Thomas, who goes by the nickname Ginni. She's the founder, president, and CEO of the website libertycentral.org. She's a former consultant to the Heritage Foundation. She's also the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Welcome to Newsmax, Ginni.
Thank you for having me on, Ashley.
Okay. Please tell us what Liberty Central is all about and what its purpose is.
Liberty Central is a way for ordinary citizens to come to the front line virtually in a public square. We listen, we inspire, we activate ordinary citizens in order to preserve liberty in our country like the Founding Fathers intended.
Okay, what are the biggest issues for you and your group?
You know, when you take the 5 core principles that we are focused on in order to filter what's happening in Washington, we're talking about limited constitutional government, individual liberty, personal responsibility, free enterprise, and national security. And when you put that lens on what's happening in Washington, you see we've got a boatload of problems in Washington. And whether it's the health care bill, the cap and trade, the financial regulatory reform bill, the big spending, the power grabs going on in Washington, we need as many people to participate in government as possible, people who weren't paying attention before. We need every voice and every person we can to be educated, inspired, and activated.
Ginni, we understand you're very critical of the Obama agenda. What's the worst things about it?
Well, I've never seen in my 30 years in Washington an agenda that's so far left. It's a radical leftist agenda that grabs a lot of power to Washington so that Washington elites can pick the winners and losers. And so the founders gave us a government that said we were supposed to be citizens, not subjects, Ashley. We're to be self-governed, not ruled by tyrants in Washington. Whether it's a soft tyranny or a hard tyranny, it's time to put our foot down, because if we don't stop this train headed for a cliff right now, we're not going to have a country that we grew up in, where our children are going to see something completely different.
You refer to members of the Tea Party as the first responders for our country right now. Please explain what that means.
Well, just like in any car accident or if you have an emergency in your life, there are always first responders who show up, who are a little bit more informed and know what to do. I call the Tea Party movement the political first responders. I do, because I do think they're the people who are figuring this power grab out quicker than most. And so you don't need everybody in America showing up at an emergency, but you need enough people to say, wait a minute, enough is enough. And so that's what we've seen around the country, whether it was in the August town halls where people stood up and maybe they saw people like them on YouTube. Whatever is spurring this on, it is truly a grassroots movement that I don't think you and I have seen anything like this in our lives. It's very inspirational. I want to be as close to them as possible, and I just really appreciate all that they've done.
What do you make of the fact that the left continually ridicules the Tea Party and portrays them as radicals, extremists, bigots, racists, and the like?
You know, I think we all know the tactics of the left. They go after the people they're most afraid of. So, you know, it's important in this political environment to have the right friends and the right enemies. And if the left's calling you names, you're somebody we want to pay attention to.
Some say Sarah Palin is the de facto leader of the Tea Party movement. What do you think of that?
I think Sarah Palin is the most genuine, authentic voice, and she resonates because people love authenticity and someone who looks like they're not an elitist, like the people who have very polished talking points from the political consultants of this town. So I think Washington is broken. I think she's a breath of fresh air. I think people want to hear real people talking about what's really happening. So I think that's why she's so effective.
You told Neil Cavuto that you think your group, Liberty Central, is going to be bigger than the Tea Party. Why do you feel that way?
We're inspired by the Tea Party, but we have done some market research, and we know that there are 14 million conservative activists out there. They may not call themselves conservative, but they're activists, and they care about the country. We know that there are 43 million information seekers who, when you look at the issues, they're conservative issues. So we think there's 57 million people out there. They may not all be Republican, they may not call themselves conservative, they may be moderates, they may be independents. They may or may not feel comfortable holding signs, but they're definitely concerned about the principles that are at stake right now as we're watching this power grab.
The Bush tax cuts are set to expire this year. Should they be renewed, do you think?
I think it will come as a big surprise that people will have to pay more taxes coming up. I don't think a lot of people are saving a lot of money and are looking forward to sending more to Washington. So I do think it is something that's going to rally even more people to the front lines for this country. So if that's what it takes, there's going to be a lot more reality checks that will get more people to the streets, and that's just one more time it's going to happen.
Okay, and finally, in a speech to CPAC in February, you said what's at stake is whether or not we're going to be self-governed or ruled by a very aggressive government. Please elaborate a bit.
Well, we don't have any checks and balances right now in this government we have elected. So we have a White House and a House and a Senate all, dominated by one party, and one party that is not listening to the people. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I remember in the Bush administration, they wanted to go for a certain immigration reform. The country rebelled. They slowed it down. The President Bush wanted to do Social Security reform. The country rebelled or didn't go along. They slowed it down. These people, even though the citizenry is rebelling and trying to speak, I've never seen Washington not listen like what we're seeing. So when I say we're either going to be self-governed or ruled, that's because in this non-check and balance environment we're in, the citizens are not being listened to. So of course the citizenry is going to get more and more a little frustrated by not being listened to. So hopefully they will have resolve and focus on remembering in November and make sure the people who aren't remembering find a new job.
Liberty Central founder Ginni Thomas, thanks so much and good luck.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on Newsmax.
It was a pleasure, and thank you for watching Newsmax TV.